Okay, so we're going to be working on my buddy's 2009 Chevy Cobalt SS. This is the turbocharged direct injection. What an amazing car. It is a 5-speed, 6-speed, 5. And the story is last night he ran it really low on fuel, and after filling up, the car through a check engine light, and it actually says running on reduced power, so it's in limp mode. So he immediately went to O'Reilly's and they ran the OBD2 code, and we got a P0087. So we're pretty sure this means the high pressure fuel pump has failed. It's funny, they say no possible causes available, but they have reported fixes. Roller lifter on the high pressure pump and replace pump. Again, pretty much all mean the same thing. So the one thing that we do know is we still show 75 psi on the information console. So we're pretty sure that the low pressure fuel pump, which is in the fuel tank in the back, just like a normal fuel pump, is still good and still sending pressure up to the engine, and it still does run and drive on 70 psi. But we're pretty certain that the high pressure pump is bad. Okay, key on, engine off. This might be a little difficult to make out. Yeah, there you go. You can see clearly 72 psi, and I have not started the car yet. There you see the engine power reduced notification. And the pressure has not changed. Okay, so looking at the engine bay, our pressure pump is right here. There is a silencing cover on it. This one's the it's like the fabric kind. More importantly, our Schrader valve is right here, and this is where we can check low pressure input to the pump. Make sure that we're still getting the 6570. One of the things that I read about on the Cobalt SS forum was the connector right here and the wires going to the solenoid for the high pressure pump possibly rubbing, like maybe on this metal bracket right here, and shorting to ground. Now, obviously I don't have that problem here. It doesn't seem like I'd have that down below. All the loom is still intact, but I did notice there was already some electrical tape wrapped around those wires. I don't know if that's factory, if that's done from the factory, or if the previous owner of this car put that on there, but after looking at them, I would say that they are in good shape. I don't think they're touching anything, but we could actually check for power and check for the call it PW, or PWM, pulse width modulation signal going to it. Okay, so I'm going to use my power probe, and I have the master kit, so I have a insulation piercing probe, and let's show up there. I have ground connected to the strut tower stud and power right here on this box. This is where you would jump start the car since the battery is in the trunk, and the yellow wire is showing ground. and the purple wire is showing ground. So we have continuity through the solenoid. Now let's start it up and see what happens. Looks like I can tell already that we're getting a signal. Let's try the white one again. Now it's just positive on the yellow. That tells me definitely got something going on. That's good. Okay, now I've still got the piercing probe from the power probe. Jump right over to my lead for the oscilloscope. And then the green jumper is just for the ground for the probe. Okay, so this is just key on, engine off, and our scale is actually 10 volts, so we're actually hitting over 10 volts already, and you can see it's spiking and falling, so it's definitely a bit of a pulse width, but we'd like to see, I guess we are kind of seeing, let's see if I can spread that out a little bit. So this is off and this is powered, so you can see that the solenoid is powered most of the time right there. See if it changes any when we run the car. Get my scale back down here. Okay. Well, that's very interesting, and obviously the solenoid seems to be working. That's a lot of pulses there. And the left to right values is 1 millisecond per square. It's kind of hard to see on the camera. Yeah. Very interesting. The trigger level is still like 10 volts. Very cool. But at least I know that the solenoid is working.